All right. Let's get this started. And I'd like to maybe first make an announcement. 3 o'clock this afternoon in room 2 here, we'll have a private session talking about investing in AI, investing in Europe. So for everyone is interested to join us there, please let me know. Please let the team of the AI House or Merantix know. By the way, I forgot to introduce myself, of course, as I so nervous. So I'm Adrian, GP and co-founder of Merantix. Merantix is an AI investment platform. We have 3 pillars. One is investing in early stage AI. We started out incubating 10 companies over the past couple of years. Now we also start to co-invest in external AI companies or machine learning driven companies. Second pillar is called Merantix Momentum, which is our solution provider. We operate and help other companies, large corporates or SMEs to actually implement AI. And then the third one that you're actually kind of living in here right now is our ecosystem part. We have built our own campus in Berlin, 1,000 people working in the machine learning co-working space. We've built the AI Association, Europe's largest AI association, acting in Germany, but also on EU Brussels level. And last summer, we decided to give the AI House a try. And this is how it ended up. I'm really, really proud of the team. And I'm so happy to have you all here. Now, let's get this started. Let's talk about AI. And I'd like to start with you, Wei. My first question that I'd like to have us discussing quickly is, what's your AI thesis? What's your AI investment thesis?
Okay, hi there. Good afternoon, everyone. Very happy to be here. So from my perspective, I see AI as one of the few mega forces that impacts the economy and markets over the long term, going beyond the ebbs and the flows of the current cycle. Of course, we're here, and this week is all about market volatility, rate repricing. Are they going to cut rates? How many are they going to cut? And it drives a lot of near-term volatility. But mega forces like AI, but also like geopolitical fragmentation, like aging population, are the sort of structural themed investment that I would consider for portfolio construction that allow us to jump out of the day-to-day volatility of the cyclical developments and events. And specifically, as I think about AI, we see 3 layers of investing. The first layer being the semis and the chips, and they have already done very, very well. And it's easy to identify what those beneficiaries are, which is why they have seen significant rally, significant inflow. But then when you think about the second layer, the third layer, the data center infrastructure, a provider, and then application, all the way to private market, perhaps. These are the layers that are less identifiable. It takes proper due diligence. I was at a discussion yesterday where the soundbite that really jumped out to me is that the era of generalist investing when it comes to AI is over, and it takes real specialization to understand what is good, what makes sense, can it go far? Because, of course, it's not just whatever company that talks about AI, which is every company in their earnings statement will benefit from this trend. So it really takes greater kind of selectivity and due diligence. So that as we think about the layer 2 and layer 3, it's harder to identify what the beneficiaries would be, the winners versus the losers, which is why as a stack on aggregate, they haven't performed as well as the first layer, which is where also the bigger runways are, which is why I'm here. I'm here to share my thoughts, but more importantly, I'm here to learn. So very happy to be here.
Thank you so much, Wei. Zach, what is your view? And maybe also where do you disagree? Because we said we're going to do this as a panel and not just agreeing to each other, but also kind of disagreeing, right?
Yeah. No, I think Wei. Not a lot that I disagree with in that. That's pretty well said. But so yeah, I'm Zach. DCVC, we're an early stage deep tech venture fund. We've been around since about 2010. And when I say deep tech, that means we back entrepreneurs solving hard problems in the real world using machine learning. So we don't really view AI as a vertical. We actually use it as an incredible toolkit for entrepreneurs to tackle a lot of these real world industries. The way I think about it is these real world industries, energy, biotech, agriculture, they have trillions of dollars of installed, fully depreciated infrastructure. So you, as a small startup, how are you going to try and compete with that? You compete with that by using machine learning in a clever way, and it actually lets you attack these verticals in a CapEx light way. So that's sort of our broader AI thesis.
Wonderful said. And maybe just to add to that, because I'm not going to be long on Merantix, because as a moderator I'm not supposed to take too much time. But I think we largely agree on exactly this thesis. We are mostly interested about the application layer of things, and we view machine learning as an essential enabling technology that creates new categories and enables new business models. Enables new models how to create value for customers, and the moat over a long time will not come from the technology mostly, but actually from how you deal with your business model and how you create a data flywheel. Let's move to Moritz.
Thank you. Same question or AI thesis? Yeah. Thanks for having me. I'm Moritz. I'm with Lightspeed Venture Partners. We've been around since the late 90s. I think currently about 1,500 active investments. Michael Romano can fact check me on that. And also, importantly, 200 exits to date. We operate globally, which is not a given, even for firms of our size. We currently manage about $30 billion in assets under management. Hopefully, we can add a bit more to that very soon. And we operate across consumer, enterprise, fintech, healthcare, and then have increased our focus in gaming and interactive media, which is where I focus my energy. We have a 15-person cross-sector generative AI working group right now. I think we've made 70 investments, not just over the last 2 years, but really over many, many years. AI has been a focus in our enterprise group for a long time. And I think we've deployed over $1 billion just in AI startups alone. I think the more prominent one here in Europe is Mistral, where we wrote the first check-in. Europe is a big focus for us. Also recently opened an office in Germany. So we're early stage investors at heart. Growth stage practice too, but if you have interesting early stage opportunities here in Europe, please come find us. So all that said, I think I'll start with an AI thesis that doesn't just relate to gaming and interactive media, but I think is broadly applicable. We have the benefit of having seen, and I'm not speaking for myself here, but my more senior partners, 2 previous platform shifts. The emergence of the internet, the introduction of the mobile phone. And we look at those and we try and derive lessons or best practices for investing in what we think is a platform shift now, which is the introduction of generative AI, and seeing it play through. And specifically in gaming and interactive media, but I think consumer and enterprise tech more broadly, if we look back, which companies really knocked it out of the park in the previous platform shift, it were the ones that didn't just make things incrementally better, trying to help developers develop things a little faster, a little cheaper, a little bit better. But it were the companies that truly built experiences or technology that simply previously was impossible. And I think that's a really important lens through which we look at our investments, because I will say 80 or 90% of startups focus on making things a little better. And I don't see enough startups really taking bold bets to become generational companies. Happy to talk more about gaming and interactive media, which is my area of passion, but I'll stop here.
And I have to say, unfortunately, I agree with that. We hate incremental things. We love exponential ways to look at the world, because I think that's the companies who are going to make the real difference, right? Now, Carlos, coming to you, I guess you're viewing this through a different lens than we are, right? Because you're backing a lot of different asset classes, and the way you look at the world mostly is finding managers who help you to invest in various stages and various industries. So how do you see AI maybe also changing the way you think about your business, and what are the areas that you're most excited about?
Thank you, Adrian. And I think it's such an opportunity to bring here together a variety of perspectives, both on stage and on the audience. So we're very excited about the Q&A later on as well. And I think this is a bit of the promise of Davos, of the clashing of different perspectives and experiences. And you're right, as investors, we view this a little bit differently. We're more in the search of managers, but also as background, the Kellogg Foundation is a foundation that was created to improve the lives of children, both on their health, education, and make their communities places of opportunity. So our CEO, Lajun Montgomery-Tabron, who's sitting in the audience, chose to bring us to Davos today because she believes that the voice of children is not being represented in these conversations. And that is one of the driving reasons why we're here. And it's also, we invest a portfolio so that the profits of that portfolio then go to help children and improve those outcomes that I just talked about. With that said, we do have an investment thesis on AI, and I think you put it very well about being megaforces, so I would agree with that being a megaforce. We see two main themes there. One is the stack part of it, and we think there'll be very few winners on that, and we've seen that in technology lately, right? On e-commerce, there were a few winners. Now on the compute side, there are very few winners, and they consolidate a lot of the benefits of the economics there. So we do think it's important to participate on those oligopolies of a few companies benefiting from those economics, but then there'll also be very specific applications of the technology, and that's probably the most exciting opportunity of it. On the social side, we see impact as well, and we think that's very important for us to consider. I think that is very exciting that we're having this conversation about AI and that there's an AI house and that it's outside of the perimeter, right? This development belongs to everybody, that this house is open to everyone, and it's not the Merantix house, it's the AI house, has created this level of buzz and energy, and it's not being governed by people that are outside, inside this white tower with security and driven by governments. It's really a movement of highly technical, skilled designers and developers. And so I would just say, as you think about those and you are helping create the future, consider about who are you including in the future and who is part of the solution and the tool that you're building. So the first part is, as you're building these tools, are you including the perspectives and experiences of many different populations and cultures, or are we ingraining and hard-coding into our systems exclusion that we shouldn't be thinking about? And the second part is, how do we bring people along so they can benefit from this mega force, right? How do we educate the young? How do we educate people that may have to switch careers so they can benefit from this tool the most? And thank you for creating this space, Adrian. I think that's a great first step. And just the last point on managers, we do invest with managers. Thanks to the long history of the foundation and our mission, we have access to incredible managers. I think DC Data Collective is such a great manager, as well as Lightspeed, highly respected and regarded in the space. We believe that the world's changing so quickly. Maps are useless because the terrain is shifting so fast. So it's more about having a compass. And the general direction is we bet on the people that are best at identifying the best entrepreneurs. So going after the venture capitalists, we do think they need to transform themselves as well, because this is an entirely new field, and they will have to evolve their skill set to be able to support AI entrepreneurs as best as possible.
Thank you so much, Carlos, and thanks a lot for supporting us. So when we think about AI and the impact that AI can have, I'm sure a lot of us in here have put quite a bit of thinking into what are the future scenarios, how could AI enable the world to become a better place, and we all have lived through the emergence of the internet and saw new categories created, new businesses created that before haven't been possible. There was just simply no way to get this business done in that way. And all of a sudden, the internet came up. And at first, people are talking about internet technologies. I don't hear that often today because we're just talking about the applications that the internet technologies have actually enabled, be that search, social networks, streaming, and the list, of course, goes on. And I'm very keen now to talk with my panel a little bit about what are the things you're expecting to happen in the next couple of years. What are the breakthroughs you're expecting? And maybe also gladly or please start with the less obvious things that you might think may also be a bit more controversial, and inspire a healthy conversation for after. Wei, I'd like to start again with you.
Okay, I might start with the most obvious thing. I will just make a few observations. So I'm not a specialist. I lean into this, I embrace it, and both professionally and personally. But I would make the observation that AI has been around for many decades, right? It's not a new development, and ChatGPT obviously catapulted this right in the center of things. But is it like a breakthrough? Is it like a revolution on a technological front? Maybe not. But in terms of application, it just make it more user-friendly, right? So I think about how I am using ChatGPT. Yes, like it helps with my drafting or whatever here and there incrementally. But what it's really helping, it's my parents' generation. That was, like speaking to Siri, and Siri is a much worse version of what we have now. And they are really like able to use applications, apps a lot more efficiently because of this, right? So like I have a team that already does a lot of quantitative stuff, social listening. It's not like this is adding a significant amount right now. I think there will be more to come, but it's the people that haven't been embracing this core essence of this technology that is really benefiting. So I don't know if this is controversial, but actually the incremental bit is meaningful, and the revolutionary bit is hard to do. Breakthrough is hard to do, but it doesn't mean that the non-breakthrough stuff is not exciting. And in fact, as you kind of frame it around how the next 2-3 years is going to look like, what I'm excited, it's about identifying those very helpful applications of this technology that is already here. I think, at least for me as a non-specialist, it is quite interesting. I was here earlier in the week. I was at this luncheon where Bill Gates was showcasing this gadget that allow women in developing economies to monitor their stages of pregnancy a lot more effectively by using generative AI. And is it like a breakthrough on the technological front? No, but it is democratizing the good medical system in more advanced places, but really make it more accessible everywhere, right? So this is not tech breakthrough, but this is application breakthrough. And I think both from a kind of investing market perspective, this is exciting, but also from a humanity perspective, I think this is really exciting.
I totally agree, and actually you took away my next question. That was like, which area would you wish AI to have the biggest impact? And I guess you just highlighted one of these areas that I also personally am totally convinced. Medicine, healthcare, in some parts is quite a broken system, and there's definitely not democratized access in all parts of the world. At best in some, but in most others there's not. And another that I am personally also actually very, very much waiting for, and will also try to help there as well as Merantix, is the education space, right? And that then of course goes directly in your court, Carlos. So what is your thoughts on maybe where do you think AI is going to help to get to new breakthroughs, and also where do you wish people to focus on more, maybe that hasn't got enough attention yet?
Right, so I think you took the two headlines. I would have been thinking about education being clearly so important just because it helps with the evolution of skill sets, which in the next 5 to 10 years will be critical. The last point I'd make, maybe in the very near term, things that are already being utilized, is that you can use AI to coach, for example, in performance feedback and interaction, because we can be more effective as managers, and oftentimes the language that we use in job descriptions or when we deal with direct employees don't lead to the best recruiting or employment outcomes. So there's an opportunity today where you have a co-pilot to help you provide better performance coaching to create a better culture, a more inclusive culture, a more effective workforce. And that's if you take that same mindset, then when you do look at the development of code in the future, I think there's a lot of leverage there because you will get a lot more out of your human capital. So the education piece is critical, and it is a nascent technology on AI at the moment. So very excited about the promise there. The goal is to lift people out of poverty and to push out the best outcomes when it comes to medicine to every corner of the world. So those are very exciting.
Thank you so much for pushing these initiatives and realms. Now, is there any other area that you think we as a group here of very, very smart people and with lots of resources should also be spending more time with or digging deeper and figuring out how to solve this specific space? Is there a wish you would have for this audience?
Oh, that's a blank check with a lot of zeros next to it. I am excited about the potential of humanity and its ability to solve its problems. And I think when we move to a mindset of we can create, you have the skills to create a world that'll be plentiful, healthy, and nurturing to all of humanity. And so as you build the solutions and think about their business applications, just think about the voices that are at the table helping inform some of your design choices. That would be my encouragement. I don't have the solutions, I don't have the lived experience, but I do think it's important to have an openness and a curiosity to others. And then as an investor, I would just say, think about unit economics because we want you to make lots of money so we can then give that away to help children. So.
Thank you so much, Zach. What are the breakthroughs you're most stoked about and expecting?
You bet. The headline for top stoked areas for me. Number one is tech bio. So this is the newly emerging field. The first paper saying that we could use AI to discover new drugs came out in the 90s. So that was a little early, but that is coming to fruition now. And tech bio is sort of distinguished from biotech. So biotech, you start with molecules and targets and genes and ideas for how to target drugs. Tech bio is the reverse. Tech bio starts with a massive data set and cutting edge machine learning. And the way I think about it is, these are companies that have a structured way for creating their own proprietary data sets. The language LLMs, the ChatGPTs of the world exist because they were able to crawl the whole web and use or misuse sort of a lot of the language that was out there, and that's sort of their training set. That training set really does not exist for biology, so it's the companies that have, and it's sort of called lab in the loop, the way that they can create their own internal database. A cool example of this is my company, Recursion Pharmaceuticals. They just unleashed or unveiled their internal model called LOWE, which is LOWE. It stands for LLM Orchestrated Workflow Engine. And what that means in plain language is the computers are designing and running the experiments for the front end of their process, which is really cool. And there's not actually humans even needed to run that first set of experiments. And the ideas just come from the combination of their internal database plus external. So two, climate. Obviously, climate is top of everyone's mind. AI-enabled life sciences platforms that can solve hard problems in the climate or chemical problems or new types of materials, those are coming to the fore rapidly. And we're backing lots of these companies that were not possible without AI or machine learning. And then the third area is just sort of, moving around physical space. This is robotics. We've also had a lot of, promise of bipedal robots for a long time, but those are now coming quickly. Amazon is testing these in their facilities, and the fact of the matter is that you need bipedal robots, which can only really be controlled with like a very sophisticated machine learning model to move around 3D. But you actually, to have a robot to navigate through here, this is a space designed for people. And that's most of the world. Space is designed for people, so you need to design robots that can work within spaces designed for people. So those are sort of the three things. And then you said something orthogonal. So the orthogonal one is my friend is a hedge fund guy, but he's blind, and he says ChatGPT has been a breakthrough for me because I can have someone describe the pictures to me in the newspaper.
Wow. That's the unexpected angles, right? Because we're blind for these kind of things if you're not in it for themselves. So I also think that's why I think it's super important to have these diverse teams working on topics, right? Because we have these blind angles. It's actually how the mind is made. Like, we are biased by design of nature. That's how the human brain works. And I think what I really loved in your example that you were describing at Lowe, or Lowy, is actually, you know, there's so much potential in research, because how research actually works in the normal academic world is you're looking for breakthroughs that you can publish on, right? And so you're not going to spend time looking at directions a lot of others have already, because you want to be novel and you want to find something new. But actually, a machine doesn't care about all that. The machine does work 24/7, and it redoes experiments the 10th time if it still thinks there is a potential that the outcome this time might be different. Where humans have long stopped and gone home, the machine is continuing, and then all of a sudden the machine finds new ways, new potentials that humans wouldn't have uncovered. Moritz.
Well, in the spirit of dignified dialogue this week, I'll politely disagree with Wei, and I would call this a technological breakthrough. I think technological breakthroughs are always not valuable if not the proper applications get built on top. But I think what we're witnessing is a technological revolution that is akin to the emergence of the internet and the introduction of the mobile phone.
For the record, I agree with that.
Okay, good. These models are not perfect. Yeah. I'm just to make Zach happy. I'm trying to stir some. Yeah. These models are not perfect, as many of us have, or all of us have already witnessed. You know, they're sometimes labeled to be kind of like a class of stochastic parrots. They're really good at predicting the next word or sentence or pixel or frame. They're really good at faking it, so good that it almost looks like they're actually deeply reasoning, but they're not. So that's one big criticism, which is also why, by and large, they're pretty bad at math, for example, or really constructing a proper argument. They're basically just repeating what they see elsewhere. That's pretty good in itself and super valuable in itself, too. So there's real value right now. I think we'll see even more value in the future. There's going to be a trend that I don't think gets talked about enough, which is this transition from large language models to large reasoning models. So there is already a big research focus on trying to take even the next step already, a new class of AI that's being developed. But yeah, I mean, as a firm, like we make investments in foundational models, right? Mistral is an example, Stability is an example. Most of our investments are in the application layer, so I agree with the benefits and the value there. It's super important to build things that are not just a ChatGPT wrapper. I think that's been discussed ad absurdum, but at the same time, building real product, but also finding real customers for what you build and building a moat that way is not something that can be leapfrogged overnight. Even if models get overhauled and new foundational models pop up, having real customers and having real products in front of them and being their vertical solution for AI has real value and substantial value. So that's also one of the ways in which we look at it. I think also if foundational models weren't interesting, then Sam Altman could probably also walk on the street here or enter the Congress Center, but he's hiding in the Microsoft cafe most of the time. I was lucky to have 30 minutes with him yesterday, and the only thing he wanted to talk about was gaming, which made me very happy. The only company OpenAI has acquired, at least publicly so far, is actually a game studio. And it's a big focus for them as well. And, you know, I'm biased here, obviously, but I agree with this. I used to be a professional video gamer, by the way, just like 2 decades ago. But if you think about gaming and interactive media more broadly, like the applications that fascinate me the most are the ones that don't just help developers with faster 2D and 3D assets, but help us build video games of a level of immersion that we've just never seen before. And we're already super good at building these photorealistic worlds. Unreal Engine looks absolutely amazing. You can build a Manhattan that just looks gorgeous with photo reflections and everything. But to fill it with 1 million or 2 million New Yorkers with dreams and hopes and aspirations and background stories and means of interaction when no one's even logged in, like creating a really rich, alive world, that's new. One company in that space, InWorld AI, they're actually the leading AI company in gaming right now. I'm a big fan. I invested in the seed round, and when I joined Lightspeed, I invested again in the B round. So that's definitely a company I want to put on people's radar, and I think they're going to go places, and they might as well become the AI first game engine of the next few years.
Wonderful. Zach, you want to disagree?
No, I was just build on sort of limitations. At the beginning, you were talking about the sort of limitations of AI and generative. I just wanted to put which is true, which I agree with. So building on what Moritz said, just want to put an AI problem out there for you guys. So picture a wedding, 300 people, tables of 10 to 12 people. Everyone needs to be seated at the correct table and have table mates on either side of them. They can have a delightful conversation all evening. That's an impossible AI problem. More combinations there are atoms in the universe. What you need to solve that problem is a mother-in-law.
Very well put. With that, I think we still have got a few minutes, and I would love to open the mic. So please, who is go? Henrik.
Grab the moment. Yes, so my question would be, I'm an investor myself in IMS Foundation connected to IKEA. So my focus is more on the climate side on the investing. So maybe Zach for you, or any others here. So trying to solve the climate crisis. There's two views. You have the Al Gore view of all the existing technologies are there to solve it. And then you have the Bill Gates' view that you need breakthrough innovation to achieve that. So I want to hear more how AI could really speed up the solutions, if you will, to be able to, at scale, I would say, decarbonize the economy.
You bet. I like to think of sort of, and it's not, I don't think that I want to sort of dissuade us from thinking that there's going to be sort of a foundation model for solving the climate problem, or a broad-based AI climate company. Maybe there will be, huge if true. I think AI in the climate space is really interesting as a tool to accelerate development in space or in sectors. A really interesting sector is advanced geothermal. Geothermal energy was thought only to be really work in places like Iceland and Kenya, where there's lava close to the surface, but with proper geological modeling, which is obviously a massive AI machine learning design space or search space, as well as understanding how to, fracture rocks and create surface area under the surface is a massive data set. And I'm sort of just obliquely describing my company, Fervo Energy, and they have fiber optics all the way down sort of 2 miles underground, and with just pulling the data out, and they're just mining that and creating this sort of next generation baseload power. So that's one way. They're very specific applications. And then broadly, I mentioned this a little bit before, on the biology side, we're starting to see highly designed enzymes, right? An enzyme is just a biological catalyst, and you can use these if you can actually, use AI to modify the genome of an organism to produce, like a bacteria to produce a next generation enzyme that wasn't possibly thought of, that an AI had designed. We're now seeing applications for this in mining. So you can use biological enzymes to increase the productivity of mines, of extracting the metal ores that we need to complete the energy transition, or new types of enzymes for recycling. So that's one design space. The other is just new types of inorganic materials, new types of catalysts. We're also seeing an explosion in that. New types of just materials for water filtration. So these are the areas that I get excited about when investing in the climate. So it's very, very specific applications for tackling some of these pernicious problems.
Great, thank you. This was an excellent panel. I have a question. So my name is LaJune Montgomery Tabrown. I'm president and CEO of the W.K. Kellogg Foundation. And I have a question. So our values indicate that we believe that people in community have the inherent capacity to solve their own problems. So proximity to the problem is key for the ideas and the solutions that may resolve these issues. So how does someone in a community with a great idea about how they could transform and change systems based on an issue, how do they get matched up with an AI technologist developer where that partnership leads to maybe a great transformation and the next best company out there solving problems in communities? How does someone, like me, who I'm not a technologist at all, but I have this great idea, and if I can be partnered with someone who could deploy an AI technology to it, we change the world. How does that happen?
Thank you so much, and I think that's a wonderful question. I'm going to start and then also ask my fellow panelists, of course, to add their thoughts to it. But this is exactly why when we started building Merantix 7 years ago, we said we're not going to just build an investment business, but we're going to invest heavily in building an ecosystem that is surrounding us. We're going to heavily invest in other ecosystems, help others build successful ecosystems, because exactly what you describe is what happens in an ecosystem, right? I would say, as Merantix, as we've been incubating companies and now also start to invest in external opportunities, when incubating companies, actually, our signature product isn't solving the technology side. Our signature product is bringing together different people with different backgrounds from different domains. You could call it the dual PhD or multiple PhD problem that we're solving in actually matching the right people with the right ideas and then helping them to form powerful teams all around the world. So we are based out of Berlin, but we see ourselves as a global company, building or investor building investing in global companies that solve problems all around. And we also encourage our companies to, even when they got started in Berlin, to then go in whichever market we believe they can get the fastest traction. Who would like to add?
I have nothing to add. I mean, it's not a tech breakthrough, but it's an application breakthrough. That was good.
I'll say something constructive. No, I think you're making a good point. I think community and people are super important, and the best solutions will be those that harness the power of the technology, but bring in the human element and local knowledge and expertise too. I think even today, you don't necessarily need to get matched up with a technologist. With the tools that OpenAI, for example, provides, you can create your own GPT. You can, in a private way, upload and provide your community documents or your internal documents, and you can train a model that has the consolidated knowledge of a community and answer specific to their needs or make suggestions for improvement. So I think in some way, even without additional technological resources, this is actually already possible today.
So we've moved room for 2 more questions, and then we need to wrap up.
First of all, thanks very much for the panel, really informative. My name is Antoni Vasili. I'm an investment advisor and consultant, also in deep tech. Working for my own consulting beyond pilot. I think my question goes a little bit in the direction of incremental versus revolutionary. I mean, a couple of facts. We know that 75% of all the digital transformation projects globally fail. And these are figures from the big consulting companies. And this is not because of a lack of technology, but because of a lack of human adoption of it, right? So that means we cannot have the bridge too long, otherwise humans will not be able to connect the dots and therefore kind of resist the adoption, right? At the same time, we know that even very revolutionary products, we think of them today, have always started very incrementally, right? People look at the Tesla and think like, wow, that's kind of a computer on wheels, software-defined car. But actually the first Tesla in 2004 to 2018 was based on a Lotus chassis, and also a lot of tier 1 suppliers contributed to 90% of the product, right? Whereas today, of course, with all the learning, it's a very advanced product. So my question really goes in a direction to say, well, we know that 90% of startups fail, and mostly it's because they missed a minimum viable product market fit, and the investor model about spreading the risk also doesn't really work. So trying to go into the direction that we can really make a difference with this technological revolution, would it be appropriate to assume that we also have to change the way VCs, investors are contributing to the space, more of a platform VC approach, more contributing, to a different style of incubation acceleration, taking founders by the hand a little bit more rather than just give them money, which they burn throughout the runway. So how do you feel about changing, that model versus just continuing the way we've been investing in tech before?
Yeah, I'm glad you bring up portfolio support and value-added investors. I work my butt off for my companies. I have probably 3 or 4 that I talk to every day, including Saturdays and Sundays. And also for competitive situations, partly selfishly for us, when you, especially on a lot of the AI deals, when you're in a situation where you're pitching against a lot of other firms, like those founders really want to hear from your existing founders how much you're actually doing. And so one motivation for me is always also to get reverse pitches through my founders, because I don't do my own value add pitch. I think it's kind of silly as a VC, right? Like I make the introductions to existing CEOs and I just work in a way so that I believe no one else will get reverse pitches from my founders that are just as glorifying as they are. That's really how you win competitive deals. But of course, we have a big team outside of our investor team, larger than the investor team actually, to help companies on everything from PR marketing to operations. I mean, we've seen the story a couple of times. That's a nice thing about investing for over 25 years and having seen all these exits. Like it's a real machinery that they get plugged into. But and on the AI side, specifically, one thing we do is we host these generative city events. So generative New York, generative SF, generative LA. We're in Paris and Berlin and London, and those are open meetups where we just bring together founders, but also people who are just curious in AI. And I think, a big domain is also just educating the public. I was on a panel and they had, I think it was the digital minister of the UAE, young guy, I think 33 years, impressive, killed it on the panel. But he said they just sent a text message to everyone in the country inviting them to an AI coding, exploration. And I think like 180,000 people or so completed this thing. I mean, and then next to him was a U.S. politician who, when answered why the U.S. doesn't do the same, simply said, "Oh, we can't do that." And I was sitting in the audience and I'm thinking to myself, really? Because you send me these like extreme weather alerts all the time, right? Like why isn't one of them a bit more educational?
Are you saying, is there room to innovate on the venture model? Obviously, it's always evolving. And obviously what Moritz said, as a venture capitalist, you need to make a pretty good investment decision on the front end based on sparse information. You do the best you can. But then where really good venture capitalists aren't better pickers. They're actually better, for that next 7 years of making your company succeed. So it's exactly right. But absolutely, I think, I've just heard of one of our fellow venture firms that did a AI training for their entire staff, including sort of the most junior employees, the person who sits at the junior person who sits at the front desk. So it's absolutely going to be sort of imperative that the business models evolve. And obviously, since venture capital was invented in Silicon Valley like 50 years ago, or you can sort of say the railroads in New York, or even sort of the Dutch East Indies Company, or it's always evolved, right? Or Lloyd's of London. Those were all sort of preliminary venture things. So it evolves very quickly. And I agree, this is sort of an AI revolution. It will be changing sort of all business practices.
So thank you so much, everyone. We could go on for an hour, I know. And there's many questions still out there, I know. Please, again, join us for the 3 p.m. session if you're interested to talk about these topics further. It's going to be a small room, but still, let's try to fit everyone in. It's going to be room 2 from here. And with that, let us give a big hand to my fellow panelists. Thank you so much.